First and foremost, with a better running technique, you'll start to avoid some injuries. Let's say, for example, you keep getting the same recurrent injury on that right hamstring. You might find when you're recording yourself running, you land funny on that right side. You might not even know that yet. That could be a strength related issue because one side's stronger than the other. It could be a flexibility issue because one side's more flexible than the other. Or maybe you just naturally did it without even knowing. By improving your running technique, we can help to cut down injuries, which will lead to better training. One of the other really important reasons to work on your running technique is to improve your running economy. If you can improve your running economy, that basically is your miles per gallon. If you can improve your miles per gallon, well then of course you can run faster for longer without getting tired. If I have to see that video on YouTube one more time, faster for longer without getting tired, but I'm serious, this is a time where it's very relevant. If you can improve that running economy and you're more efficient and basically your body is not fighting against you, you'll be able to get to the finish line faster. You're taking less fuel, less energy, and the energy that you are putting in is all about running forward as fast as you can to that finish line. That's why it's so important to work on your running technique. We're going to be looking at strength tips, flexibility tips, and then hopefully some running drills and strides that can make your running technique better. Let's get started with running on the treadmill, recording my form, and then showing you how you might go about analyzing your own form. Okay, so the benefits of recording yourself on the treadmill is really to start to see what areas of your body perhaps don't move the way you'd like them to, or perhaps don't move in an efficient way to stop wasting energy. That means that when you're recording yourself on the treadmill, you want to be looking for things like tension in the shoulders. Where is your head pointing? Is your head pointing straight ahead? Is it pointing down? Is it pointing up? You also want to start to look at where are the imbalances in terms of my left leg moves this way, my right leg moves that way. And is there perhaps going to be something within that technique that really strikes a chord? That means that when you're watching this video and perhaps you film yourself from the side at first, and then perhaps you move the camera to behind you, and perhaps when you're looking back at that recording, do you see some really obvious patterns? And then can you start chipping away at those patterns in terms of saving energy? Perhaps you're holding your shoulders up really tall and tense, and maybe that's stress or anxiety, or maybe you don't even know. Now let's take a dive into some of the strength tips you might do to help improve your running technique. We're going to do some heel raises. You can start by doing heel raises without weight. There's absolutely no problem with that. And then you can progress to perhaps holding a squat bar if you have a squat bar, or a dumbbell or a kettlebell. Or what you can actually do is just fill a backpack full of little bits of things that are around the house that add a little bit of weight. But be careful with these and don't go crazy in your first attempt at doing them. I would recommend doing 2 to 3 sets of maybe 6 to 8 repetitions and see how that feels. Start to see is one side a little bit stronger than the other and take it from there. Okay, so exercise number 2, and this is your walking lunges. And so walking lunges is getting a little bit more running specific because that's the muscles you're going to be working quite a bit when you're running. It's a very, very long lever, exaggerated stride, but it is going to bring some strength into the body. Now we're starting to work the glutes, the quads, the hamstrings, and we're also working muscles in sync. When you're running, remember that no muscle is ever really working by itself. You want everything to work together. When you're doing these walking lunges, think about your core being activated. Think about that chest up nice and tall, your shoulders relaxed, and your head pointing in that good direction. All the stuff that you want to be working on within your running technique stuff, you also want to be thinking about when you're doing these strength exercises. I would recommend walking along for perhaps 20 meters, and you can do 2 to 3 sets of that. You don't have to start with weights, but of course you can progress this to weights. Okay, so the third exercise today, and I hope you've all heard about it, it's just a regular squat. And what you're hoping to do with your squat is keep your knees from collapsing in, keep your chest up nice and tall, and only go through a range of movement that your body's capable of. That means that if you notice that your hips start to break on the way down, as in you're getting down into your squat, and as you get a little bit lower, your body starts to tip forward. You don't want to go too far that you're tipping forward. You want to keep this all in a good place so that your body remembers that good position with the pelvis. And if you think about it, when you're running, you don't really go down much further than a quarter squat. So don't push these. You can start off with doing maybe 3 sets of 8 bodyweight squats, and you can progress that to using a kettlebell, a dumbbell, or perhaps even some squats in the gym. But again, you can do this at the back of your car when you finish a run. Super simple. It's really going to help. Okay, so when it comes to flexibility, this is some flexibility exercises that you can do to start improving perhaps some of the areas where most runners struggle. So this is a hip flexor stretch, and as you can see, I've engaged those hips, I've tucked that pelvis under, I've got the core engaged, and it's just like running. But I'm moving into that stretched out state to try to bring a bit of length into those hip flexors. Perhaps the way you sit at your desk, even when you're running, if you're overworking those hip flexors, they get into a shortened state and then it's difficult to lengthen them. Think about it, if all you're doing is shortening the muscles, those hip flexors, they're overworking, you're sitting at a desk and you never lengthen them, it'll be very difficult for your body to get into that nice running technique. So start to work on your hip flexor flexibility, and it's really going to pay dividends in your running technique. The second thing that I would suggest you work on is a very simple quad stretch. You can take this from a very simple quad stretch and then you can extend it out the back. This is not a crazy difficult exercise, but oftentimes in that backwards part of the stride, it's your quads that's going to hinder some length. All this flexibility stuff will also reduce injury risk and improve your recovery. So it's win-win. The third stretch that we're going to do is for the hamstrings. Not difficult. We've moved from the hip flexor stretch into a simple hamstring stretch. You don't have to push it. I was once told by a yoga instructor, it's not sport. You're not trying to feel pain. You're just trying to, generally speaking, over time, bring some flexibility back into the muscles. You're also trying to get them to a similar place in terms of left hamstring, right hamstring, or quad and hamstring. You don't want your quads to be super flexible, but your hamstrings not, or that's going to change your stride pattern. The final 2 stretches, we're going to do a pigeon stretch, which is for your glutes. If we can open up those glutes, that's going to really help your stride and your stride length. Glutes are the biggest muscle in the body, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But these are also muscles that if they're not flexible and they're not activated, they'll not be working. So do your pigeon stretch. You might want to hold this for 20 to 30 seconds. You can move around a little bit and it targets different parts of the glute. The final stretch is for your calves. This is a standing wall stretch. My hands are on the wall, my calf's out the back. Again, I'm not forcing it. And with all these exercises, this is stuff that you can start to add at the end of a run or before a run. And don't think of this as it must be done on Tuesday or Friday or after a run or before a run. There might be optimum times to do all these things, but with running, it's just a sum of everything you do. There is never a perfect time to do this stuff, and so start to add it in when it works for you. That's better than never doing it. Okay, so let's dive into these running drills. And as I show you them on the screen, I'm going to talk you through them. So as you might realize, we're going to go through the running action. And so what you've got first is a skip, which is kind of like high knees, but not. What this is doing is bringing your body into a nice up and tall motion. You're bringing that knee drive up, but you're also focusing on pointing the toe up towards the sky. And so the motion that you're doing is keeping the chest up nice and tall. Think about those shoulders. Are they relaxed? And imagine a string pulling you towards the sky. As you do this exercise, you want to think about being quick off the ground, which is going to improve your ground contact time, but you also want to make sure that your opposite arm, opposite leg, and that you're really bringing that heel up towards the bum before pointing up towards the sky. And that's the first part of your running technique. Then we move into a B skip. The B skip, as you can see, is now an exaggerated flick of the sort of foot going out in front of you. This is not the technical way to explain this drill, but what we're trying to do with these drills is reinforce that running action, and you know the running action, your knee comes up, and when your knee comes up, your foot moves out forward and down towards the ground. That's your B skip, that movement of the foot flicking out forward and down towards the ground. Now don't slam the foot on the ground, but you can start to think about the speed of that movement, and like I said, over time your body's naturally going to do this a little bit faster. Start to work on these, add them in to the end of your run. It doesn't need to be super complicated, super time consuming, and then do 3 to 4 times 80 to 100 meter strides or sprints, and that's when you get to practice some of the drills and see if it's starting to become motor memory. You can jump back on that treadmill, record it, start to track your progress, start to see if you're wasting energy in certain places. If you want some more running advice, I have a running school at joggingroom.com. Advice on nutrition, recovery, psychology, strength conditioning, and then of course very running specific, how to be better at running, how to map out your year, how to handle stress of races, etc. The Running Masterclass is 12 hours of tips, 60 lectures, all kinds of activation routines, flexibility routines, you name it, it's on there. Go check it out, there's heaps of free stuff. But well done, thanks so much for watching, like, subscribe, do all those lovely things. All the support that you guys bring to the channel and watching these videos or supporting the school, it helps me invest in this YouTube channel to hopefully bring more videos. So I appreciate it so much, take care. Happy running.